I was 15 when my mother died. It was the worst thing that had ever happened to me. She had been my rock, my best friend, the person I could always count on. My father and I were left shattered, clinging to each other to make it through. For a while, I thought we would always be a family of two. I was wrong. Barely a year after my mother's death, my father sat me down in the living room with an awkward smile on his face. I remember feeling uneasy before he even opened his mouth. "Rachel, sweetheart, I want you to meet someone special. Her name is Monica. We're getting married." I turned and saw a woman stepping into the room. She was too young. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled, her makeup flawless, her dress elegant, but something about her felt artificial. She carried a fake warmth in her smile, the kind you see in salespeople trying to convince you to buy something overpriced. Beside her stood a little girl, about 7 years old. "This is Sophia," my father continued, "your new little sister." I forced a smile. A sister? I didn't ask for a sister. Still, I tried. I really did. I wanted to be happy for my dad. He had been so broken after my mother died, and I convinced myself that maybe Monica would bring him some joy. But from the very beginning, Monica treated me like I was an inconvenience. She barely spoke to me unless necessary, and when she did, her tone was clipped and impersonal. She had a habit of whispering to my father when I entered a room, and she never included me in anything. It was like I was an outsider in my own home. Sophia, at first, was different. She was a sweet, bubbly kid who followed me around, asking to play or watch cartoons together. I liked having her around. It made me feel like maybe, just maybe, this could be a real family. But then, things started to change. I noticed how Monica subtly kept Sophia away from me. If I invited Sophia to play a game, Monica would find an excuse to keep her busy. If I tried talking to her at dinner, Monica would quickly change the subject. Then one day, I overheard Monica talking to Sophia in the kitchen. "You don't have to spend so much time with Rachel, honey," she said in a sickly sweet voice. "She's not really your sister. She's just your father's other daughter." The words hit me like a slap. From that day on, Sophia barely spoke to me. She stopped coming to my room. If I passed her in the hallway, she looked away. It was like I had become invisible. I tried talking to my father about it once. I told him I felt like Monica was pushing me away, that she was turning Sophia against me. He sighed, rubbing his temples, and simply said, "Rachel, you need to give them time. They're adjusting." Adjusting. I was the one who had to adjust. This was my home. My mother had built this life with my father, and now I was the one being treated like I didn't belong. So I stopped trying. I buried myself in schoolwork, counting down the days until I could leave for college. And the day I left, neither Monica nor Sophia even said goodbye. My father gave me a half-hearted hug and told me he was proud of me, but there was something hesitant in his eyes. Looking back, I think he knew I wasn't coming back. And I never planned to. For 6 years, my phone barely rang. I didn't expect much from my father after I left for college. He wasn't the kind of man who called just to chat or check in. Occasionally, I'd get a half-hearted text on my birthday or a forwarded meme about success that he probably thought counted as parenting. And Monica? She never reached out, not even once. I never got a "Merry Christmas," "How are you?" Nothing. As far as she was concerned, I didn't exist. And you know what? That was fine by me. I had built a life for myself. I had my own apartment, a good job, and for the first time, I felt free. No awkward silences. No walking into rooms where conversations died the moment I entered. No more feeling like a guest in my own home. But then, out of nowhere, my father called. "Rachel, sweetheart, how have you been?" I nearly dropped my coffee. Sweetheart? He hadn't called me that in years. I should have trusted my instincts right then and there. But against my better judgment, I played along. "I'm good, Dad. What's up?" "Oh, nothing much," he said, voice dripping with artificial warmth. "Monica and I were just talking, and we realized it's been too long since we've all been together. Why don't you come over for dinner this Sunday? We'd love to see you. We. Since when did Monica want to see me? Something was off. But curiosity got the best of me. So that Sunday, for the first time in 6 years, I went home. The moment I stepped through the front door, I knew I had made a mistake. Everything was different. The furniture was new, sleek, modern, and completely sterile. My mother's paintings, which had once decorated the walls, were gone. The family pictures that used to sit on the mantel, replaced with photos of Monica and Sophia. It was like my mother, and by extension, me, had been erased. Monica greeted me at the door with a wide, too-perfect smile, the kind she probably used on real estate clients. "Rachel, it's so good to see you," she chirped, pulling me into a stiff hug that lasted a second too long, like she was trying to prove something. I forced a smile. "You too, Monica." I glanced around, expecting to see my father. Instead, I spotted Sophia slouched on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She looked up when I walked in. Our eyes met for half a second before she rolled them dramatically and went back to texting. No, hi. No, nice to see you. Not even a fake greeting. Ah, so that's how it was going to be. Fine by me. Dinner was awkward. My father tried to make small talk, asking about my job, my apartment, whether I was dating anyone. Monica nodded along, pretending to care, while Sophia scrolled through Instagram like we weren't even in the same room. The whole thing felt forced, like a bad sitcom script that nobody wanted to act out. And then, just when I was about to make an excuse to leave, the real reason I was here finally came out. "Rachel," my father began, "I need to ask you for a favor." "Ah, there it is." I leaned back in my chair. "What kind of favor?" He exhaled dramatically, like what he was about to say deeply pained him. "The thing is, money's been a little tight lately." I nearly laughed. "Bingo." "Oh?" I said, pretending to be surprised. "What happened?" "Well, you know how it is. Bills pile up, home repairs, unexpected expenses." Monica jumped in. "The water heater broke last month, and the roof needs fixing. You know how expensive those things are." Her voice was sickly sweet, like she was talking to a toddler. I glanced at Sophia. She hadn't reacted at all, just kept scrolling. I turned back to my father. "So, you need money?" He hesitated, then nodded. "Just a little help. You're doing so well for yourself, and we're so proud of you. We just figured, since we're family—" Family. That word left a bitter taste in my mouth. Where was family when I was in college, struggling with rent? When I spent holidays alone because no one invited me home? But against my better judgment, I sighed and pulled out my checkbook. "How much do you need?" Their eyes lit up, like they had won the lottery. "Oh, just a few hundred for now," my father said quickly. "Nothing too crazy, just to help us get back on our feet." I wrote the check, handed it over, and ignored the nagging feeling in my gut that told me this was only the beginning. I should have listened to that feeling, because soon the requests started getting bigger. At first, it was small things, a couple hundred here, a little extra there. Then it was medical expenses, then home repairs, then bigger home repairs. Every time my father called with the same pathetic, apologetic tone. "Rachel, sweetheart, I hate to ask, but—" And every time, I gave in. Because deep down, I still wanted to believe this was family. And then, one day, Monica called me herself. "Rachel, darling, how are you?" "Darling?" Since when did Monica call me darling? "I was just thinking," she continued. "Sophia's 18th birthday is coming up, and we want to throw her a beautiful party. You know, something really special. But with our financial situation—" Ah, there it is. Again. I already knew where this was going. "How much?" I asked flatly. She let out a delighted laugh, like I had just told her she won a vacation to Europe. "Oh, not much. Just covering the catering. Nothing extravagant." I almost said no. Almost. But then I thought, maybe this could be a way to reconnect with Sophia. Maybe, after everything, she would finally see me as family. So I agreed. I agreed to pay for the entire catering service, including a massive 3-tier cake. And for the first time in years, I felt hopeful. That hope lasted exactly 1 week, because 2 days before the party, Sophia called me herself. And what she said next made my blood run cold. "Hey, Rachel, so I'm finalizing the guest list, and I need to make some cuts." I frowned. "Okay? What does that have to do with me?" She sighed, like she was talking to a stranger, not her stepsister. "I'm cutting you from the list." The words hit me like a slap. "Wait, what?" "Yeah, it's just for close friends and real family." Real family? I wasn't real family. I was just the wallet. And in that moment, I realized exactly what I had to do. For a few seconds, I thought I had misheard her. "I'm sorry, what?" I asked, gripping my phone a little tighter. Sophia sighed. The way you do when you're explaining something obvious to a child. "Look, it's nothing personal. It's just that we're keeping the party small, only close friends and real family." Real family. There it was. I stared blankly at the wall, my fingers tightening around my phone. "So, I'm paying for the food, but I'm not invited?" I asked slowly. "Oh my God, don't be so dramatic," she groaned. "It's not like that. You're just, well, it's more for people who are really part of my life." Ah, so that's what I was. Someone who existed on the outside, only useful when needed. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw my phone against the wall, but instead, I forced my voice to stay calm. "Got it," I said quietly. "Hope you have a great party." Before she could respond, I hung up. And I sat there, in the middle of my living room, feeling like the biggest fool in the world. For years, I had been nothing but an ATM to these people. I had paid for their repairs, their groceries, their bills. I had spent thousands trying to earn my place in a family that didn't even want me. And now, I was literally being told to stay out of a party I paid for. I had never felt so humiliated. But as I sat there, something in me shifted. This wasn't sadness anymore. It wasn't disappointment. It was anger. And I was done being their fool. That night, I logged into my email and pulled up my catering invoice. Everything was confirmed. The food, the desserts, the drinks, and of course, the massive 3-tier birthday cake. I looked at the total. Nearly $3,500. For a party I wasn't even allowed to attend. I exhaled slowly, my hands tightening into fists. Then, without hesitation, I picked up my phone and called the catering company. "Hi, this is Rachel Carter. I need to change the delivery address for my order this Saturday." The woman on the line sounded confused. "Oh, of course. May I ask where you'd like it delivered instead?" I smiled for the first time all day. "Yes. Please send everything to Hope Haven Shelter downtown. Same time, same order, just a new location." She paused. "The homeless shelter?" "That's correct," I confirmed, pulling up their address. "They'll be expecting it." I hung up and sat back, letting the satisfaction sink in. They wanted me to stay out of the party? Fine. But my money was staying out of it too. And the best part? I wasn't going to tell them. Let them find out the hard way. For the next 2 days, I ignored my phone. Monica had texted me twice, both times with fake niceties. "Hi, sweetie. Just wanted to say thank you again for helping with the catering. It means so much to Sophia." "Oh, you have no idea how much I'm helping." I didn't respond. Then, the morning of the party, my father called. "Rachel, sweetheart, just checking in. Everything's good with the food, right?" "Of course, Dad," I said sweetly. "Everything is taken care of." It wasn't a lie. The food was taken care of, just not for them. At exactly 6 p.m., my phone started exploding with calls. First it was Monica, then my dad, then Sophia herself. I let them ring. Then, finally, I picked up. Before I could say a word, Monica screamed into the phone. "Rachel, where is the food?" I pulled the phone away from my ear, wincing at the sheer volume. "The food?" I said innocently. Oh, it was delivered, right on time. No, it wasn't, she shrieked. The caterers never showed up. The guests are here, and there's no food. I took a sip of my wine, letting the silence stretch before I spoke. Oh, I said finally. You mean the catering? Yeah, it was delivered to Hope Haven Shelter downtown. I figured, since I wasn't invited, my money shouldn't be there either. For a second, there was dead silence. Then, you selfish little bit. I hung up, and for the first time in years, I felt free. The fallout? Absolutely delicious. Later that night, my friend Olivia, who knew one of the party guests, called me, barely able to contain her laughter. Rachel, oh my God! It was a total disaster! Apparently, when the food never showed, Monica panicked. She ran to the grocery store and bought cheap sandwich platters, throwing them onto the buffet table like that would somehow make up for it. Meanwhile, my dad had rushed to a diner for desserts, returning with a sad box of stale muffins and a single pie. And Sophia? Full. Nuclear. Meltdown. She screamed, she cried, she threw an actual tantrum in front of everyone. At one point, she even threw a gift across the yard in rage. It was incredible, Olivia giggled. You could hear her screaming from the driveway. Meanwhile, over at Hope Haven Shelter, 200 homeless people were enjoying the best meal they'd had in years, including a beautiful 3-tier birthday cake. Monica wanted me to be nothing but a wallet? Fine. But she should have remembered. Wallets can close. And mine just did. I woke up the next morning feeling lighter than I had in years. No more guilt, no more obligations. For once, I had chosen myself. I stretched, made myself a cup of coffee, and checked my phone. 37 missed calls, 10 from Monica, 11 from my father, 16 from Sophia. I smirked and scrolled through the unread messages. Dad. Rachel, I can't believe you did this. Call me back now. Monica. You ungrateful brat. After everything we did for you, you ruined my daughter's special day. Sophia. WTF is wrong with you? You're a psycho. Dad. I am so disappointed in you. I thought you were better than this. I almost laughed. Better than what? Being their personal ATM? Then the most interesting text came in. Monica. We need to talk, face to face. This has gone too far. Oh, this should be good. I sipped my coffee, then casually replied, Sure, my place, 2 p.m., don't be late. At exactly 2:05 p.m., my doorbell rang. When I opened the door, Monica and Sophia were standing there, looking like they had just come from a funeral. Sophia's eyes were puffy and red, like she had been crying for hours. Monica's face was twisted into something that was supposed to be regret. But the moment I saw her, I knew. She wasn't sorry. She was just sorry she lost control over me. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. You wanted to talk? I said, raising an eyebrow. Monica forced a smile. Rachel, sweetheart, we've had a rough night. We all said things we didn't mean. I laughed. Oh, I meant everything I said. Monica's eye twitched, but she kept going. Look, I understand why you're upset, but you have to see this from our perspective. You humiliated us in front of all our friends. You ruined Sophia's birthday. Sophia sniffled dramatically. Everyone was laughing at me, Rachel. Do you have any idea how embarrassing that was? I tilted my head. Oh, and do you have any idea how embarrassing it was for me when you uninvited me from a party I paid for? Silence. Monica shifted uncomfortably, but Sophia just rolled her eyes. It wasn't that deep, she muttered. You're always so sensitive. And there it was. No apology, no accountability, just more excuses. I smiled, shaking my head. You know, for a second, I thought maybe, just maybe, you actually felt bad. But you don't. You're just mad that I finally stopped letting you use me. Monica sighed loudly, dropping the fake kindness. Rachel, let's be real here. You make good money. You have no kids, no major expenses. Why wouldn't you help family? I stared at her, completely stunned. She really believed that I owed them something just because I was successful, that my hard-earned money was theirs to claim. I took a deep breath. You're right about one thing, Monica. I make good money, and do you know why? She frowned. What? Because unlike you, I actually work for it. Her jaw clenched, and I could see the rage bubbling under her skin. Rachel, don't be selfish, she snapped. We're family. I smiled coldly. That's funny, because 2 days ago, I wasn't real family enough to be at Sophia's party. Sophia's face turned red, but Monica pushed forward. Rachel, let's put this behind us. We just need a little help. Nothing big, just to fix the mess you made. If you could just cover some of the catering costs and maybe help with the bills this month. I held up a hand. Stop. Just stop. Monica froze. This conversation is over, I said firmly. You don't get to insult me, use me, and then come crawling back when things don't go your way. Monica opened her mouth to argue, but I stepped back inside. Goodbye, Monica. And I shut the door in her face. I blocked all their numbers that night. For the first time in years, my phone was quiet. No sudden requests for money, no fake affection, just peace. But the real cherry on top? 2 weeks later, my friend Olivia sent me a text. Olivia. Rachel, you will not believe what just happened. I smirked. Try me. Olivia. Your dad and Monica had a huge fight at the grocery store. In public. Screaming match. It was wild. I grinned. Details. Now Olivia. Okay, so apparently Sophia found out that they spent all their savings on a luxury SUV last year. She assumed they had money set aside for her college tuition. Turns out, they were counting on you to pay for it. Now that you're gone, they're completely screwed. Oh, this just kept getting better and better. Olivia. Sophia had a total meltdown. She was yelling about how they ruined her future and how it was so unfair that they didn't have the money. Monica was blaming your dad. Your dad was blaming Monica. It was chaos. I nearly spit out my drink, laughing. Olivia. Sophia is refusing to get a job or move out. She told them, this is your problem, not mine. Karma. Wasn't it beautiful? A few months later, I got a final email from my father. It was long, full of guilt-tripping nonsense about how family is forever and how I needed to be the bigger person. I didn't even bother reading the whole thing. I just replied with 2 words. Not interested. Then, I blocked his email too. And just like that, they were gone from my life. I went on my first real vacation that year. I took up new hobbies. I started focusing on my own happiness, something I should have done a long time ago. And while Monica and Sophia were drowning in their own mess, I was out there living my best life. Because at the end of the day, I finally understood something. Family isn't about blood. It's about who actually cares about you. And those people weren't them. For the first time in my life, I was truly free. No more fake phone calls. No more sudden requests for money. No more guilt-tripping messages about family obligations. Just silence. And it was beautiful. But, of course, Monica and Sophia weren't done just yet. Because exactly 1 month later, my father called me from a new number. I hesitated before answering. Part of me was curious. After all, I hadn't heard his voice since the party disaster. I sighed and picked up. Rachel, honey, we need to talk. I rolled my eyes. Here we go. Talk about what? I said flatly. He hesitated, then let out a long, dramatic sigh. I know things have been tense lately, but let's put all that behind us. We need to discuss something important. Sophia's college tuition. I nearly laughed. I should have seen this coming. You mean the tuition you assumed I'd be paying for? I asked, voice dripping with amusement. Rachel, you always said education is important. It is. That's why I worked hard and paid for my own. Silence. Then his voice hardened. Rachel, be reasonable. You're doing well for yourself. You don't have kids. You don't have a family to support. Exactly, I interrupted. And I plan to keep it that way. He wasn't expecting that. You're really going to let your sister suffer? He snapped. She's not my sister, I said simply. Rachel? No. You made it clear years ago that I was an outsider. You and Monica erased me from your lives the moment you got your real family. You only called me when you needed money. And now that I'm done being your personal ATM, you expect me to fund Sophia's future? She's just a kid. She's 18. She's old enough to face the consequences of her own actions. Rachel, if you don't help us, we'll lose everything, I smirked. Then I guess you should have treated me better. And I hung up. Then I blocked his number. For the last time. The next few months were silent, until one day, Olivia sent me one final update on the Monica and Sophia meltdown. Turns out, things had gotten even worse. After I refused to pay for Sophia's tuition, she threw another tantrum, screaming about how I had ruined her future. She refused to get a job or take out loans. Instead, she stayed in Monica's house, refusing to contribute to anything, insisting it was her parents' responsibility to pay for her degree. Meanwhile, my father and Monica were completely drowning in debt. Remember that luxury SUV they bought? Well, guess what? They had to sell it. Even better, they still didn't have enough money to cover their bills, and my father had to pick up extra shifts at work just to stay afloat. Monica? She was miserable, not just because of the financial strain, but because Sophia had turned into a younger version of herself. Entitled, spoiled, completely unwilling to take responsibility. And now that I was gone, there was no one left to take advantage of. They had created a monster, and they had no one to blame but themselves. While they were struggling to keep their heads above water, I was thriving. I went on my first real vacation that year. I took up painting, something I had always wanted to do. I finally lived for myself, not for people who only cared about my wallet. One night, I opened my laptop and scrolled through old photos. A picture of me, my mother, and my father from years ago popped up. I barely recognized him. He looked happy back then, and for a split second, I felt a twinge of sadness. But then I remembered. He had chosen this. He had chosen Monica. He had chosen to erase me from his life until it was convenient for him. He had chosen money over family. And now, he was paying the price. I closed my laptop and took a sip of wine. For once, my life was exactly how I wanted it to be, and it felt amazing. Now, I have to ask, what would you have done in my situation? Would you have forgiven them? Would you have given them one last chance? Or would you have done exactly what I did? Walked away and never looked back? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one, and I'd love to hear your take on this situation. And hey, if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video to support the channel, subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another Reddit story. Share this video with someone who loves a good family drama. Thanks for watching, and remember, never let anyone treat you like an ATM.